Hey guys, it's Ashley and Davy here from Utah Trikes, and today we're doing another riding review. What are we riding today?
Today we are riding the Catrike 559 and the Azub T-Tris.
Two awesome trikes that I think you guys are gonna love. We're gonna love. Let's get riding.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, Davy. Well, it's earlier in the morning, but it's still pretty sunny right now.
It's the perfect weather.
So I'm not sure that the color of the trike, if it makes me hotter or not.
Yeah.
I like the fact though that we do have trikes in so many different colors, so it really becomes a fashion choice.
Yeah. Maybe the darker color makes it less hot because it absorbs all of the heat instead of reflecting it. Compared to a car that absorbs it but puts it inside the car. You aren't inside of it, you know, maybe.
So maybe the heat is bypassing me and will go into my trike
going into
instead.
the trike.
Well,
I'll have to look into that.
Well, yeah. All right, so we're riding here. We've got two trikes. You know, price-wise, they're pretty close to each other.
Yeah. And they're very similar trikes in their build and kind of riding style.
The obvious thing is that they both have a rear 26-inch wheel.
Yeah.
They're both have 20-inch wheels. They're both folding. They both have adjustable seats.
Yeah.
Gearing wise, both of these are set up about the same. So they both have the triple in the front.
Triple up front, and then I have 9 in the rear and you have 10, correct?
Yeah, so I've got the standard Catrike 10-speed. The T-Tris there has a little bit smaller crankset than this FSA Gossamer here. So
you got a really large top ring there, and mine's a bit smaller.
Yeah, so I would anticipate that, you know, top speed on this Catrike might be a little bit higher, but then you've got that really small granny gear.
Oh yeah, like going up hills. I'm excited to try going up hills on this one.
Right.
It seems really well built for that.
You've got drum brakes. I've got the
standard disc brake.
Yeah, the Catrike Avid BB7 disc brakes. Now, Azub does have an option for disc brakes.
Yeah.
Where Catrike is disc brakes always. And you find that in a lot of European trike where they have the drum brakes. I think mostly because, you know, Sturmey Archer's a European brand. They're the ones that make the drum brakes. A lot of people like the drum brakes if you're dealing with inclement weather and everything. They're a little more sealed.
Yeah. And then another difference that I'm seeing is that on the Catrike, you have the classic padded Catrike seat.
Sure.
And on mine, I've got the stock Azub mesh seat. So a little bit less padding on my end. It's very breathable. It's still not a problem.
So now again, talking about things that you can change, Azub does offer another more padded seat.
Yes, the Azub Dream seat, which is one of our favorite seats around here. It's really nice.
But then all of that stuff just keeps adding to the price.
Yes.
Right now we're looking at more of the stock setups here. The other thing about the seat that's interesting here to note is that the Catrike is more of a two-piece seat with the bottom part of the seat is integrated into the frame.
Yeah.
And then the back of the seat is what's adjustable for the angle, whereas the
T-Tris is an entirely separate seat from the frame.
Right.
So that makes it a little more different in its folding capabilities because you have to remove the seat to fold it.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. Both of these trikes, they both fold, right? But they both fold in their own unique ways. The Azub can get very, very compact because you're able to remove the whole seat compared to the Catrike. But on the Catrike, there's a lot of quality of life things like the rolling wheels right here, which lets you roll it while it's folded, and the kickstand, so you can position it vertically instead of just horizontally when folded.
Yeah, so one thing I really have always liked about Catrike's folding frame is that it's all self-contained.
Yeah.
Like when the trike folds up, it becomes almost a piece of luggage with the wheels. I can then stand it up. I can roll it around with the boom. Very easy to store, to transport, to roll around.
It's like if you can store a large rolling suitcase, you can store one of these Catrikes folded up.
Sure. We have no train here.
Woo!
And so we're riding up the hill here. I don't really foresee there being a big difference in hill climbing on these. They weigh about the same. This is not such a hill that I think will even need that lower gear that you've got there.
I hit it anyways because it's just easy. I go as low as I can.
Trying it out. Okay.
I like to try it out. There we go. I'm in the lowest gearing.
Yeah, see, I'm in my lowest gearing on my middle chain ring here, and I'm pushing nice. It's pretty leisurely. Getting up to the crest of the hill here.
I will say, keeping it, it's not too bad, but I'm trying to keep up pace with you, which is a lot more tiring than I think it would be if I took it at a normal pace.
So the nice thing about the Catrikes, they're very predictable in the way that they handle, in the way that they ride. I had that same cockpit feeling. Feels good to ride. A lot of stiffness from that Catrike boom. And it just goes. We're kicking it in a little bit. I think I might have lost Davy. One thing I've always liked about the Catrikes, they just handle really well with minimal pedal steer. I'm pedaling and I'm going, and they just handle great. Steering just kind of locks in. The faster I go, the more it wants to go straight. When I go to turn, I do have to be a little bit more deliberate.
Okay, I caught up.
So Davy caught up with us here.
Just in time for the hill. All right, let's see how this feels, huh? Hike foot. Take it.
Love the way I think I lost Davy again. All right, there he is. He's back.
You really make me catch up, man.
Oh, man, you're out of shape, Davy. One thing that I've always really liked about the Catrikes, mention this nearly every time that we ride a Catrike, that steering geometry, when you go fast, it wants to go straight. So you have to be very deliberate about your turns. In my mind, that's a really good characteristic.
Yeah.
Because I want to be very deliberate about my turns. One thing I'm going to want to compare, like I do feel those road vibrations. Anytime we've got a stiff aluminum frame like this, you can hear it in my voice. My voice is kind of bouncing a little bit.
Yeah.
And you hear that every bump, you hear it a little bit. So that's going to be interesting to see how the Azub's mesh seat compares to the Catrike's padded seat.
Like for me, I'm not really feeling a lot of those road vibrations. You can probably hear it in my voice a little bit, but it's not as big of a factor in the riding on this Azub, at least for me. So we'll see once I can.
We'll see once we switch. That's a nice thing about what we're doing here. Like, when you get on one trike and then you immediately get on the other and you climb a hill, like you know what those differences are. So apparent, like you go, oh, wait a sec.
Night and day.
Yeah. Night and day.
One thing that I noticed is on that hill, I was really pushing myself, pushing as hard as I could, and that's kind of translating into my shoulders also shifting. And you feel a little bit of that wobble as you go. It's not like unstable.
Well, they call that pedal steer. As you push, so like if I'm pedaling and I'm mashing down on my right side, the trike goes this way, and then when I mash the other way, and we've talked about that a little bit before.
Yeah.
Part of that you can overcome by using some sort of shoes, or pedals where your foot's attached. But some trikes definitely have more of a pedal steer than other trikes.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that, we're both going to notice right away is that difference between Catrike's direct steering and Azub's indirect steering.
Definitely.
Where the indirect steering, you have, essentially a U-shaped handlebar with a pivot under the seat. 559 has handlebars that are just connected directly up to the front wheels.
Yeah, which is way different.
Yeah, so quite a bit different.
Well, let's feel that difference.
Yeah, let's
swapping.
Let's do this, guys.
Woo!
All right, guys. So now I'm going to ride the Azub T-Tris.
And I'll be on the Catrike 559.
Let's talk a little bit about the name real quick, because I was stammering a little bit trying to remember T-Tris.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Not
559, that's named 559 specifically because that's the size of the rear wheel. Metric is a 559 equals 26. Whereas like the Catrike 700 has a 700 size rear wheel. T-Tris is Trike, maybe?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything. I was looking at the name. I couldn't.
You know, and it's probably something we could look and know really easy, but we're out here in the sun, guys. We don't know.
Is it worth looking at?
I'm not even going to tell you. Okay. So just, if you know, put the comment down. We'll probably know by then anyway.
It might be worth looking it up. I don't have my phone on me, though.
Let's do it. First thing I'm noticing here, just sitting on this, is the seat shape is a little bit different.
Very different.
I feel like the Azub seat, it's a little bit more narrow, but it's taller. And I love having taller seats.
Yeah,
with
more
that,
shoulder support.
That shoulder support. That feels really nice. I definitely am feeling this one-piece seat shape though.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it kind of has this bend here in the bottom and then it kind of scoops up a little bit. Overall, it feels really good. I've never been one that's really been into padding anyway.
Yeah.
So I kind of like having a open mesh, but we'll see. And then the other thing that I'm definitely noticing, again, this is one of those things that can be changed. The T-Tris is set up with the trigger shift.
Trigger shifting. Whereas on the Catrike, we've got the bar end. Personally, I love the feel of trigger shifters, but I always get like really confused on just like how on the right and the left they're backwards, but on these ones, the bar end shifters, it's hard to get.
Well, see, that's what, so Azub, what they do, they take their shifter and they mount it in this kind of inverted position with these cables loop, and that's a very characteristic Azub thing to do. And what this does is it puts everything in the same position that you would have it on a bike.
Yeah.
So like if you took this handlebar and you swung it, that's exactly how it would be on a bike.
Yeah.
So my handle, my brake lever and my index finger, my thumb are exactly positioned where they should be for a trigger shift.
Yeah.
It just comes down to, you know, the placement of these. Can I shift as fast and as easy? Like I said, I'm a big fan of bar end shifters, but you know, this is not a bad setup. Now this does have these cables here. When Jan and I rode, he was on the Ice VTX that has the trigger shifts, but Ice has made this little box that mounts right on the top here with a pulley, so everything gets tucked down a little bit. So
a bit more discreet.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, again, you know, people tend to either be okay with this or they hate it. I don't know anybody that's ever said, ooh, I love the cables like that. You know, most people kind of go, why are my cables sticking up?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the nice features, though, is that I have super easy access to all these barrel adjusters. So as I'm riding, I can just adjust it on the fly. It's enough talking. I think we're both rested up
let's
enough.
Get riding.
Let's climb that hill before it increases another 10 degrees.
Yeah, and also that the train shows up.
All right, guys, let's do this.
One thing that I'm noticing right off the bat, and they can be adjusted, but this one, I think the natural position for the Catrike handlebars is a bit more turned in than on the Azub. Easily adjusted in and out.
Right.
But I am feeling that a little bit.
The very first things that I'm noticing here, we picked 2 stock trikes. So these are stock builds. These don't have any added upgrades to them or anything. I am totally missing the pedals here. I don't have clipless pedals on this trike, and I absolutely hate it. You know, so that's probably the very first thing I would change. You definitely feel the handlebars a little bit.
Yeah.
And one thing, like as you're climbing and you're putting a lot of force into the pedals, it's pretty easy to want to pull against the handlebars.
Yeah.
Where like on the Catrike, if you pull against the handlebar,
nothing is really happening.
You're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially pulling against the front wheel.
And it really allows me to like get the extra leverage in while I kind of brace myself against the handlebars.
Right.
It's not steering me in any directions. The wheels aren't moving too much, which I think is really nice. You can really use, on Catrikes, I'm finding you can really use your whole body to put power into those pedals.
With the T-Tris here, if I pull too much, I end up affecting the steering of the trike.
Yeah.
You know, and
you really have to direct as much of that power into your back as possible and not move your arm.
Yeah, 90% of that is solved by getting the right pedals.
Yeah.
You should really be clipped in. It's not always going to be the most fair comparison climbing a hill the second time around. It's hotter, you know, I'm a little more worn out. Like I'm not clipped in, so my foot placement isn't exactly where I want it to be. You know, it's not bad. Like you're gonna notice this under seat steering. Like, I don't know if you could see here, wiggling a little bit. Like this steering is just really easy. It's like power steering compared to the Catrike. Right now going this speed, the Catrike could be just locked in, going straight. And I feel like, you know, with just a little bit of movement, I can wiggle the trike a little bit. Otherwise, this trike feels just rock solid stable though. Higher speed. Okay, so here we go, guys. Hill. I lose Davy again.
Bottom of the hill now, after doing a big old loop.
So let's talk about the climb a little bit. You know, the second time you do a climb, like sometimes I get on and we're doing, you know, our second or third loop, and I feel like I have the same amount of energy and it's just as easy. This time around, like I felt a little bit more worn out climbing that hill.
I was feeling that too, and like,
yeah,
it was my second time going up the hill, and I was using the Catrike, and I hit the top of that hill, I finished it, and I was like, I'm totally fine. Like, you saw how far back I fell on
this
the
trike.
T-Tris there.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that at all. I don't know if that was because you were falling back on the T-Tris, so it was easier for me.
Yeah, so that was, I think part of it was like I was going a lot slower on the T-Tris, dealing with the pedals. And then the other part though really is, you know, just getting used to that pedal steer.
Yeah.
Just how when you're putting a lot of power into this trike or most trikes with under seat steering like this, you just have to be a lot more cautious about how much you're leaning or pulling on the handlebars.
And you just don't get that on a Catrike. Like I was pedaling as hard as I could down that hill, and I felt none of the pedal steering that I was feeling.
Sure.
T-Tris. I was just pushing as hard as I could, and then I even came up real close to the camera and then just lightly just went around. It's really nice controlled steering that's really firm, so you can push and pull as much as you want on these handlebars for support and never like affect your steering, which is really nice.
Going down the hill, my main limitation on the T-Tris here was that lack of gearing. Like I definitely felt like I could have used another 2 or 3 gears at least.
Yeah.
With this smaller chainring in the front and then even being in that highest gear in the back, I just felt like I needed more gearing. Now again, if I was clipped in, I probably could have gone faster because I could spin properly.
Yeah.
Where, you know, when you don't have that, you're just basically mashing, so you tend to need some higher gears.
Yeah. Biggest thing that I noticed is on that downhill, there's that really like sharp turn. And on the Catrike, I'm feeling a bit more top heavy. I had to lean a lot more. It felt a lot less grounded on that really extreme turn compared to on the T-Tris. The T-Tris felt really grounded on that turn. I feel like I was going about the same speed, and I felt a lot more in control on that high speed turn on the T-Tris compared to the 559. How do you feel about that?
I would say that, you know, going on the Catrike, like I mentioned a lot, like you're in a cockpit, it feels like it just wants to go straight. So when you want to turn sharper and faster, you really just have to put a lot more deliberate action into turning.
Yeah.
Where the T-Tris here just straight up feels like it has power steering.
Yeah.
Like you just barely have to let it go.
And you just go
and it
right
just turns.
Yeah.
If anything, on the T-Tris, I had to lean maybe a little bit more than I do on the Catrike.
Oh, really?
But, you know, as far as stability goes, like I would rank both of these trikes at about the same. Like these are both kind of rock stars as far as like handling, but they're definitely different. And I think whatever trike you ride or you choose, you're going to get used to it.
Yeah.
You know, so like if I'm a lot more used to the Catrikes because that's what I'm riding every day, and the Catrike steering and the handlebar setup, you know, it's hard for me to look at others and ride other trikes and not feel the difference.
Yeah.
You know, I just give it a little bit of movement and it goes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where the Catrike's a little more deliberate, but that's 100% not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No,
It's preference. It's a preference for the type of ride that you like.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that they don't like the Catrikes because they say the Catrike steering is too stiff.
Yeah, it's too stiff. It's
or
too hard
it's too hard to turn. It requires more action. Where something like this is just super easy. Like anybody could get on this and go. The other thing is too, like this pivoting style of steering, you know, where there's actually this kind of twisting motion of the handlebars.
Yeah.
Is a lot more intuitive to new riders.
Yeah.
Where like on the Catrike with direct steering, you know, it's a little more.
It's a push.
Yeah, it's a little more like pushing on one side, where this is a little more like I'm rotating like a handlebar.
Which it feels less intuitive on the Catrike, but personally, I really just like the stability. Like I think the trade-off of like the ease and comfort of turning for a more stable, like rigid steer, so I can push into these handlebars.
Yeah,
I prefer that more.
You know, one way to kind of sum it up is the Catrike, I think, has what you would call a more sportier handling, where this is a more kind of a comfort leisure handling.
Yeah.
Both of these have steering that's very good. It's just different.
Yeah.
Of all the trikes that we ride and lately that we've been doing comparisons to, like a lot of the times there's these glaring differences, right?
Yeah.
Where you ride one trike and then you ride the other and you immediately go, I like this, I don't like that, or this feels better, or the differences become really obvious, you know?
Yeah.
With these two trikes, I'm having a hard time really even figuring out what are the differences that I don't like. Yeah, sure, there's differences, but there's nothing about either one of these trikes that I would go, oh yeah, I would choose this over that.
Well, I do. So yeah, I've been thinking about it. Where like this Catrike, this 559, it feels tighter. It feels right. Like this seat cushion is really pulling me in. Right, the cockpit feels tighter. The steering is a bit more stiff. It feels really rigid in a good way, in a way that I think benefits my riding style. Frame is a little more, like a little less shock absorbing, so you kind of feel it, right? The 559 feels stiff and it can go fast. I can rely on it. Whereas the Azub feels a bit loose. It feels a bit more freeform, right? You have your mesh seat, which is a little bit harder, but it's very breathable and you feel like you can move a lot in it. I like the steering for how loose it is, right? For leisurely, more medium style rides, I think that steering is great. The rubber grips that come stock on it compared to the foam grips on the 559, it just feels like it's sucking me in less and letting me enjoy what's around me compared to the Catrike, where it's like I am in a machine. That's how. Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess
those are the two differences for me.
I feel like when I'm riding a Catrike, I'm in the trike.
Yeah.
And I'm, you know, it's a sporty vehicle. It's a sports machine. I'm riding, and where I feel like this T-Tris here, a little bit more comfort and leisure.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be a different style of riding.
Like I'm in the Catrike, and I'm in the Catrike 559, and I'm on the Azub T-Tris.
Yeah.
You know, like that feels like the easiest and simplest way to really describe that, I think.
There definitely are some characteristics about each of these trikes that I like. I actually really like having a mesh seat without having the padding, because if I'm gonna ride, I'm gonna go ride for a long time. It's already hot. I'm already at the point where I'm gonna start sweating pretty soon.
My back's already sweating a lot on this padded seat when it wasn't on the.
Yeah, and having a padded seat that doesn't breathe as well is not something for me. Now, you know, on any of these, you could replace it and put in a more breathable pad.
Yeah.
Like the Ventasit pad or something. You know, so if you wanted a pad, you could definitely do that. But I think, again, it kind of depends on the riding you're doing. Like if you're just tooling around some bike trails, then having a pad is going to give you more comfort and a softer ride. And you may not be riding at a point where you're sweating a lot.
Yeah.
Where like, if I'm riding, I'm going on a 30, 40 mile ride, and I'm going to be drenched by the time I get back. Every time I ride with a padded seat, I have to take the whole foam off, you know, rinse it off, let it get dry and everything, where all of my personal trikes that I'm riding all the time just have mesh on them, because that's the kind of rider. You know, other things that like I like more on one over the other, obviously, is the pedals. And guys, that's the thing. No matter what trike you ride, get pedals and shoes that you can ride where your feet actually attach to the pedals, or get a pedal like with the strap, like the Power Grip pedals, or we have our heel support pedals that actually strap your shoe into. Not only is it a safety thing, but it's definitely a performance thing. So the more that you're pedaling, your whole leg energy can go into spinning that crank. So that's one thing I definitely like about the Catrikes. Every single Catrike you buy just comes stock with the SPD combo pedal. That's the way, you know, other things that I like one over the other. Like I like having rubber grips instead of the foam grips, mainly because of the sweaty thing again. But I 100% like to have bar and shifters instead of these, you know. And Catrike, they invert their brake levers. I like not having cables up. I'm the kind of guy that when I'm getting in and out of my trike all the time, I might accidentally kink one of these levers.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that. On the Catrike, I wouldn't have to worry about that. But again, all those things can be changed. One thing I really like about the Azub though, their seat, and I don't know if you could see it in the back there, their seat here, and I don't know if you could see this in the back. Both of these seats have adjustable seat angles, but this mechanism on the Azub here
has a lot more stops.
Well, and you can fine tune that angle, and it sets and then it locks. So I can really dial in that seat angle. And when I take my seat off, it remembers that seat angle because those little stops stay there.
Yeah.
So when I put my seat back on, it's exactly how I wanted it. For the Catrike, every time that I fold my seat forward and then fold it back, I have to readjust that seat position, you know, and it only has 3 positions.
Yeah, so it's not too hard.
It's not too hard, but it's there, you know.
A little less intuitive.
Yeah, and talking about folding, like we mentioned, the Catrike has these nifty little wheels here. You know, I don't think, you know, as far as folding and transporting these trikes, the Catrike hands down is the winner. Way easier to fold. Everything stays in one compact position. Easy to fold and store if I'm taking it to the trails. But if I'm traveling, like you mentioned, this T-Tris has different level. You know, I pull the seat off, I fold the back in, and I can get a little bit smaller because that seat does come off. You know, as far as, you know, other things, I think that the under seat steering versus the direct steering is going to be a personal choice. I understand why a lot of people really like having the under seat steering. I mean, under seat steering, it's power steering. I mean, I've got all this leverage. It's so easy to turn. Like we're stopped here which is the hardest time to turn, and this is how easy it is to turn.
Yeah.
You know, where the Catrike, you know, it requires a lot more effort and it's more of that swinging out motion. But again, all that comes down to personal preference. I think both of these are fantastic trike. You know, why would I choose one over the other? You know, it's really gonna, I think for me, the biggest deciding factor for a lot of people, it's really gonna come down to the steering.
Yeah.
Like if the Catrike steering, the direct steering, if it feels a little too hard, a little too stiff for you,
The T-Tris would be a really
then
great
the T-Tris
option.
is a really great option. You know, otherwise, as far as quality goes and riding and everything
They
else,
both feel really similar in quality
Yeah.
and riding style. Like they're very similar. It's just in those small things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all in abstract. How I was saying was like this one's tighter and this one's lighter, right?
Yeah.
Like you just got to ride it to feel it, which
Yeah.
you can do because
Yeah.
we do test rides here. You don't need to
Yeah.
schedule an appointment or anything. You can just come in, and if you live around the area or just want to take the trek down to Utah Trikes, you can.
yeah, we're 10 minutes away from Provo Airport, guys. So every single day we have people just flying in to try trikes, and then we can build what they want and ship it to their house. So, you know, if you were watching this video with the hopes of us being able to say like, hey, that trike is way better than the other, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys because I think both of these trikes are bangers, man. They're winners.
They're good.
You could choose either one of these trikes. You're going to be happy. I don't see any noticeable quality difference. And
Some great trikes.
yeah, these are great trikes. So, you know, let's end this video. Spin fast.
Relax first.
Oh, you got to relax.
And then spin fast.
Okay.
And ride trikes.
And ride trikes.
We'll see
Okay,
you
guys.
guys next time.
We're gonna have some tragic accident with
My
Davy's foot gets sucked into the chain.
I'm gonna die.
I can use those.